Hey, what's happening, Nation? It's SJ. The Eagles are coming to Vegas tomorrow. I want to take a look at the game, see who has the advantage. Usually I do the positional groups, position by position, and just kind of compare those players. This week I want to mix it up a little bit and kind of compare like Derek Carr to the Philadelphia Eagles defense and vice versa and just kind of work through it that way. I think it should be pretty cool. Maybe bring a little bit more informative information to it instead of just being Derek Carr's way better than Jalen Hurts and just break it down a little bit more than that. So hopefully y'all enjoy it. We're not going to waste too much time. We're going to go ahead and jump straight into it. If you are new to the channel, if you think about subscribing, I really do appreciate that, and it really does help me out. But we're going to start in that quarterback room with Derek Carr. Derek Carr versus Philadelphia Eagles defense. They play a very cover heavy zone, which kind of opens them up a little bit to the run game, but they have not allowed very many deep passing plays throughout this season. It is like the key to their defense. I want to say right now they're ranked second as far as plays over 20 yards, but like I said, they are susceptible to the run and they are super susceptible to those underneath passes. I'm expecting Hunter Renfrow to have a huge game, and I'm also expecting Willie Snead to get involved a little bit more in this one, so that could end up helping Derek Carr out a pretty good bit. I'm really liking the way that he's poised for this game, especially with his quick release and the fact that we do have so many short routes. I think Henry Ruggs might end up struggling a little bit this game, especially if we use him as that deep threat or as like a decoy. I want to see him taking more of these slant routes, maybe hitting a couple wide receiver screens and just hitting them in that short yardage and then being able to make plays happen off of that. I think Bryan Edwards in the possession game could end up being huge. We're going to have to see what's going on with Waller. I saw he got moved down to questionable for this game with his ankle, I believe. But if he doesn't play, I really think Foster will be able to carry that load for us. And as always, our offensive line is really going to dictate how well Derek Carr plays. They played better last week. I really think they're going to step it up and continue to play well through this. As long as we can stay injury-free, I think Derek Carr will have the time, especially with the short passing game we're going to be using to kind of pick this defense apart. Moving over to Jalen Hurts, there's been a lot of talk about putting him on the bench. I really don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to continue to let him ride. This Philadelphia Eagles offense has been pretty pass heavy. I don't really understand it when you have a dude like Miles Sanders as your running back that's really just not being used correctly or not used at all throughout this season. It kind of really blows my mind. But they have Devontae Smith. They have Jalen Reagor. They got Watkins. The wide receiver room really isn't spectacular outside of Devontae Smith. That dude is a beast when he is healthy and able to be on the field. And we did just give up 300 yards to Teddy Bridgewater. But Philly's O-line has been a little bit suspect. They have given up at least 2 sacks over the past 5 games each. And with the pressure our defensive line has been getting, there's really no doubt in my mind we're going to be able to get to Hurts in this game. If we can get to him and keep him in the pocket, much like they did in that Tampa Bay game, he ended up throwing for only like 116 yards. But we've seen quarterbacks throw for only 100 yards and still beat this Raider team, as much as it drives me nuts to say that. Our secondary is still a little bit banged up. I know a few of you guys gave me shit about that video I did the other day where I said we still had depth at that cornerback position, and I really didn't understand us bringing on Trufant. Like, I didn't get that move, and I stand behind that because we had Faison, we had Nixon, we still have Hobbs, Amik Robertson, and I understand Amik has not been playing that well. He had one really shitty game, but he played pretty well in that Chargers game. So to write him off after one bad game, one good game, and then be like, no, he's shit, I want to see that continue to grow. I want to see Nixon get more involved. Faison, I thought, played incredibly good. And that was the depth I was talking about, just to get us through a couple weeks until the bye week is passed, and then a few of these guys can come back off of IR, because from everything that I've seen, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Arnett and Mullen should both be back after the bye week. Their IR time will be expired, and they should be healthy enough to come back onto the field. I'm really hoping I'm wrong. I'm really hoping Trufant can end up making a pretty big impact on this defense, because we're going to need him to in this game particularly. But I'm definitely giving DC the advantage in this game. I think he's going to end up having a pretty damn big game. I think he's going to be over 300. I could see him throwing for 2 or 3 touchdowns, and unless Darius Slay does something crazy, I really expect him to come out of this game with 0 picks. So advantage DC. Moving into that running back room, it's Miles Sanders versus Josh Jacobs. Sanders is averaging 4.7 yards a carry this season. He's honestly looking really damn good, but he only has 57 attempts on the year. And to put that into perspective, Josh Jacobs has 54 carries on the season, and he's missed a few weeks due to injury. Miles Sanders has the potential to be a beast if you just put the ball in his hands, but the Eagles have proven they're not willing to do that. They want to stay pass heavy. They want to kind of work him in, off play actions and things of that nature. And the Eagles have played a few strong-ass defenses this season. Out of all the matchups we'll be talking about tonight, Miles Sanders, I think, is one of the biggest threats that we have going against us in this game. I think if they really do feed him heavy, he has a shot at being able to exploit this run defense because it has looked pretty porous over the past few weeks. It's all going to come down to if the Eagles decide to do it or not. As far as Josh Jacobs is concerned, he's been looking better and better every week. It seems like he's putting on a little bit more yardage. He's getting a few more carries. And honestly, with their cover-heavy zone defense that they run in Philly, he has a shot at being able to go off this game and getting over that 100-yard mark for the first time this season. I know I said he thought he had a shot at it last week, but that didn't pan out. This week, I really legitimately think if we can get him to that 20-25 carry mark, he'll end up being over 100 yards. I think he definitely will get in the house. I think we're going to be moving the ball down the field enough to where he's going to end up getting 1 or 2 goal line looks. And if you put Josh Jacobs inside the 3 and you have Alec Ingold on the field, you know his ass is getting into the end zone. I'm going to give the advantage to Josh Jacobs in this situation just because I don't think Miles Sanders is going to have the opportunity to do anything else besides that. Advantage to the good guys. Moving into that wide receiver room, I think Casey Hayward's going to end up being matched up with Devontae Smith. It's going to be a huge matchup that we have to watch throughout this game, but Hayward's been playing exceptionally well so far this season. I think he'll be able to keep Smith under wraps as long as we give him a little bit of safety help over the top. And I honestly feel on the opposite side, either Amik Robertson or Hobbs should be able to go one-on-one with Watkins. Honestly, I really would like to see Amik Robertson go out there and play this position and be the starter in this game, just because I think one-on-one with Watkins, he would win the majority of those battles. And that would free Hobbs up to play that nickel spot that he kind of excels at. If he got matched up with a slot receiver, it would be him versus Rieger. And I'll tell you right now, Hobbs versus Rieger, I'm taking Hobbs 100% of the time. I know our secondary group is still banged up at this point, but I think what we have right now on this team should be able to handle this Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver room, especially with Jalen Hurts throwing on the ball and the pressure that he's going to be under throughout this game. As far as our wide receiver room, Henry Ruggs, like I said, might end up having a pretty tough game. I'm expecting Bryan Edwards to kind of be running those short possession routes, and I'm fully expecting Renfrow to go off this game. Just coming out of that slot spot, getting the separation and the speed that he has, he's going to be able to pick this defensive secondary apart, to the point that I think we're going to need Willie Snead to come in and spell him and kind of get in on this action. That's why I'm expecting both these guys to end up having a pretty big game. If it's not Snead, I think Zay Jones might end up getting in the mix a little bit more for this one. But much like last week, I'm really expecting Carr to spread this ball around a pretty damn good bit. The advantage is going to the wide receiver room for the Raiders this time. Moving into that tight end room, we have struggled with tight ends throughout this season. It kind of pisses me off because I really thought we brought in some of the pieces to fix that, but a lot of those pieces are banged up right now, and we're going to have to wait for them to get back on the field before we can fully fix this. With Darren Waller being questionable for this game and his availability pretty much still being completely up in the air, I'm going to have to go ahead and give the advantage to Philadelphia Eagles on this one for no other reason than Richard Rodgers, their number 3 tight end. This dude already has 24 catches for 345 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has been playing incredibly lights out. Him and Hurts have a really good connection. I know they have Dallas Goedert in front of him. He's been playing pretty decent this year, and then they just have a true blocking tight end that they run on this roster and keep in Jack Stoll. Keep a really close eye on Rodgers in this game. I really think he could end up giving us fits, and if he ends up going off and him and Hurts can get a little bit of a rapport going with the way that we have guarded tight ends in the past few weeks, it really has me a little bit suspect. If Darren Waller was 100% playing, we would definitely be getting the check mark in this. But starting Foster Moreau, Matt Bushman behind him because Carrier's still on the IR, it's going to be really interesting to see how much we work these guys in. Every week I say Foster's going to end up going off and being that sleeper guy. Now it's to the point where Foster needs to come out and actually prove something to me. And with the extra opportunity, I'm really hoping we get to see it this week if Waller does not end up going, or if he is in a real limited capability going into this game. And it sucks to say, but right now, advantage Philly for that tight end room. Jumping into the offensive lines, both these offensive lines pretty much suck. There's no easy way to say that. Teams have been able to get after Hurts all season long, and ever since our injury woes, teams have been getting after Derek Carr. The only difference is Derek Carr knows this offense well enough to where he can get that ball out of his hands. Jalen Hurts has the option to be able to just take off and run it at any given time, but we've been pretty damn good against mobile quarterbacks so far this season, so I'm not worried about that. And I think as long as the Raiders continue to keep this offense spread out, keep that pressure off this offensive line, and keeping teams from being able to stack the box, they've honestly been looking a hell of a lot better. This advantage checkmark pretty much comes down to the defensive lines that they're going to be facing. You guys know how much I love our defensive front and how good that rotation is. They've been playing extremely well. Yannick has been drawing the double team pretty much every damn time, which is freeing up Max Crosby to have the season of his life. We've been getting a ton of interior pressure. Phylon's been playing lights out. Quentin Jefferson's questionable for this game, but watching how Solomon Thomas stepped up last week, I have no doubts that we can continue this rotation until he can get fully healthy. and it seems like Hankins is back to 100%, and a lot of you guys are super high on Square. I personally was not that high on him, but a lot of you guys love him, say he's a Gus Bradley guy, and he kind of fits the system. Jefferson can't go. Maybe you'll see him in that rotation again, getting a few snaps and getting a little bit of time out on the field. But if you want to talk about getting some serious interior pressure, you have to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles front four. They have Fletcher Cox, who is good. He's getting up there in age. He has lost a step, but he still plays pretty solid, and he's damn good against the run. But they have Javon Hargrave, and that kid is a freaking beast. He already has 6 sacks on the year. He causes all sorts of disruption. And when he comes through that interior part of the line and he's lined up over a guy like Andre James with John Simpson standing next to him, that shit has the potential to get extremely ugly extremely fast. Our interior offensive linemen are the reason that the Eagles are getting the check mark in this category, because I believe that our defensive line and our rotation is better than the Philadelphia Eagles. But I also believe that the Philadelphia Eagles defensive front is strong enough to kind of pick this offensive line apart. But our offensive line did look a hell of a lot better. But they're going to have to prove to me they can do it consistently week to week before I will actually give them a check. The advantage is going to Philly for this one. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line, much like we just discussed with the offensive line, it's pretty much going to be a real similar situation. The only thing that I'm thinking is that the Raiders are going to have more of an opportunity to get the Jalen Hurts just because of the depth that we do have and the rotation that we do have on this defensive line. But if you look at the Eagles side of the ball, they have Sweat. They have Barnett playing their defensive ends, and like I said, man, they have Hargrave and they have Fletcher Cox, but then they have Ryan Kerrigan as a depth piece on that team. Their defensive line rotation is honestly pretty damn solid. It all comes down to the offensive line that they're going up against, and since I gave the check mark to the Eagles as far as the offensive line went, I have to give it to their defensive line just because they're going to have the opportunities to get to Derek Carr unless we scheme this shit right. And if for some reason we go back to our real conservative run-first offense, the Eagles are going to end up picking us apart. I don't see that shit happening, but it is a real possibility. And it's hard to bet against Hargrave lined up over Andre James. It sucks to say that, but it's a reality of what we have to deal with right now. Advantage Eagles. Moving into that linebacker room, they have Singleton, Wilson, and Avery. Honestly, Singleton is like a freaking tackling machine. Not on the level of like Perryman, who's just been playing out of his freaking mind, but in his own respects, that dude is a damn good linebacker. Their other 2 linebackers are more coverage linebackers. They kind of play that cover-heavy zone scheme that they love to run. But you got to have that one linebacker that can come in and just kind of be that thumper, and that's what Singleton is for them. Our linebacker room, with the exception of KJ Wright, that I still kind of go back and forth on, has been playing incredibly well. Littleton, I don't care what you guys say anymore. Watch your damn tape. Look at those stats. He is playing a damn good season. I understand he's been burned on a few plays, but name me a linebacker that has not been burned. And Perryman, as far as being just like a true tackling machine, that dude has done everything that we have expected him to do and more. He is playing beyond the level that I thought he had left in him. I'm really hoping he can continue to keep this up for the rest of the season. I think he has a legitimate shot at being the tackling leader with how he's played right now. Our linebacker depth kind of sucks right now with Morrow and White being out. But we've played consistent defense without them, and I know that shit's going to continue underneath Gus Bradley. I'm definitely giving the advantage to the Raiders linebacker room with this. They're going to have to step it up a little bit against that run game. I want KJ Wright to really step it up against that run game. Look at that Raiders linebacker room winning a few of these. It's been a long damn time since you could say the Raiders had better linebackers than some other team, like any other team. I love giving the check mark to this linebacker room. Happy as hell to see that. Moving into that secondary, again, I'm going to do these as a group just because those secondaries just kind of play as one giant unit. I know I have it broken into separate categories, but we'll just give the check mark to both of them. This Eagles team usually has Darius Slay and Anthony Harris just kind of carrying the secondary for them. Anthony Harris is a definite scratch for this game, so we do not have to worry about that. Darius Slay is still going to be probably matched up one-on-one with Henry Ruggs. It's going to be a hell of a matchup to watch, but since they play that cover-heavy zone, they're going to have help for him all over the place. But I think if we can use Ruggs to kind of stretch the field and take the corner and Slay out of the play, it's only going to open up that interior pass game for us more. And then as soon as Darius Slay either bites on the first little move or that safety comes up on a play action, we have to take that shot deep. I think we're going to. It's going to be a really fun matchup to watch. They got Steven Nelson playing the opposite corner, and I will tell you right now, he's only 5'10", 194. Brian Edwards should be able to have a fucking field day on this kid. Epps filling in for Harris, we might have the opportunity to stretch the field and kind of ruin that little record they have going for being the second best pass defense against plays over 20 plus yards. As far as our secondary is concerned, I'm going to stick with my guns here and say start Amik Robertson as that opposite corner from Hayward. I really think he'll be able to hold down Watkins for the majority of this game, and even if they try to put Rieger on the outside, Amik versus Rieger is still an incredibly good matchup for us. It allows Hobbs to go back to that nickel spot, and honestly, you have Trufant, or you have Nelson, and really you have Brandon Faison, and I really think that kid played a hell of a game. I wanted to see him get a bigger role. That was one of the main reasons I was kind of pissed about Trufant coming onto this team, just because I know Trufant has lost a step. I know Trufant is going to look very much like Damon Arnett when he hits that field, and it's only going to piss people off. But a dude like Faison came onto this team and really made an impact and really stepped up and had a huge game, and I really wanted to see him have that opportunity again and play behind Amik Robertson in this game. Let Amik start it, see how he does against Watkins. I really think it's a good matchup. If he ends up blowing it, bring in Faison. If he ends up blowing it, you still had Nixon you could give a shot to. You had options down that board, but I really think things are going to end up panning out for us with this secondary. I think this is a room, as long as Hayward can do his job against Smith, we should be able to win this room pretty handily with Anthony Harris being out of this game. Even though our secondary still completely beat the shit, I think we have the advantage, especially with the matchups that we've already taken a look at. Raiders secondary with Jonathan Abrams steps up in a major way this game. I think they continue to force turnovers. We ended up picking off Teddy Bridgewater 3 times last week. I could see us getting 2 more picks in this game, especially with Hurts being under the pressure that he's going to be under. Advantage Raiders, man. Our secondary has been stepping up, and with the pass rush forcing plays to happen faster than they should be happening, we've really been looking damn good on that defensive side of the ball. I know we've given up some decent amount of yardage. We're getting the turnovers. We're making the stops when we have to. Every team gives up the big play every now and again, but I really think we should be able to keep that under wraps the majority of the time for this Philly game. But overall, I think our secondary will definitely outplay theirs. So advantage Raiders, man. Moving into the special teams, Daniel Carlson versus Jake Elliott. Advantage Daniel Carlson. It's as simple as that. Carlson is the 11th ranked kicker in football right now. Jake Elliott is the 24th ranked kicker. Carlson's kicking right about 85% and Elliott's kicking 77%. We definitely have the advantage in this room. Then finally, the punter. You guys already know what this check mark is going to be. AJ Cole is one of the better punters in football right now. He leads the league for the longest punt at 71 yards, tied for 5th place with 12 punts inside the 20. This kid has been playing lights out. He's been booming the shit out of that ball, and I could not wait to see him continue to develop. I'll say it at the end of all these videos that I make. AJ Cole's going to the Pro Bowl this year, I promise. Jumping into my final score prediction, I'm really expecting the Raiders to jump out to an early lead in this game and just kind of have the Eagles coming from behind and trying to play catch up for the remainder of the game. If I had to call it right now, Raiders 34, Philly 24. I fully expect us to go out there and continue to put points on the board. I expect this offense to stay completely spread out and keep this defense on their toes. I think Carr will be able to pick them apart across the interior part of the field. Again, much like you saw in that Denver game. I think that will end up opening up Josh Jacobs and eventually opening up that play action deep past the Ruggs to kind of stretch the field and keep everybody honest. As long as we come out and play with that same passion that we had last week, and I do not see that shit fading. A lot of you guys wanted to call that like some kind of new coach euphoria. That was about the players who had put in the work, coming together and saying, we're not going to blow this whole damn season because we lost our head coach. It is up to us to win these games, and I promise you they're going to go out there and do that shit. This team's making a playoff run this year, and in order to do that, you have to be able to knock off a 2-4 Eagles team that's coming into your own damn house. So that's pretty much what I have for you guys tonight, man. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Please leave your thoughts in the comments section. Let me know what you would have changed and what your final score prediction will be. But until next time, when we're celebrating a victory tomorrow night, Son Joku, we will catch you on the next one.